Hey everybody, welcome to the PixelBlips podcast for Cinco de Mayo! Hey Dave, what have you been playing this week?
So Tuesday, what is it? Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon came out?
Yes.
I've been playing that.
With Michael Biehn.
Something, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous.
The dude from Terminator and Aliens.
Yes. It is ridiculous. If you loved 80s action movies and really like bad B movies from that era, that's exactly what this is. So far I've only played like 2 or 3 hours of it, and I've only done like 1 or 2 of the, I guess there's 7 or 8 story missions, but most of it's just been running around trying to not get eaten by these giant lizards.
That are all neon.
That everything in this game is got big neon stripes to it.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty neat though. I mean, like all the enemies sound like they're from Tron. All your guns have crazy adaptions that you can add on and things like that.
Everything's pew 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 pew.
Yeah, and it's you've got a robot arm and you've got a Terminator eye and all kinds of crazy stuff. It's a pretty neat game, and for $15 it's a pretty good deal, right? Because it's a bite-sized Far Cry 3 experience. As far as like the open world and all that. Now there's the crazy, silly stuff.
Now does it require Far Cry 3?
No, it is a standalone game. So even if you bought Far Cry 3 and you just want more Far Cry 3, then that's kind of what this is, just in a different setting. It's like an alternate reality 2007.
I like it because it kind of harkens back to the early '90s kind of VHS. Straight-to-video rental stuff.
That's exactly what this feels like.
Yeah.
And the loading screens are more or less just like a tracking bar at the bottom, and it brings up the little things, and you see like the VHS tear or like the static and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the cutscenes are like very reminiscent of like Streets of Rage, where it's just like static pictures and then there's text at the bottom, and then you might see like flip it to show action. You'll just see a new static texture and things like that. It's really funny and neat.
And how much is it?
It's like $15. I paid $15 for it on Steam. It's probably about that across the board for PSN and Xbox as well.
Cool.
And it's definitely a good 3 or 4 hour game, but you can make it however long you want if you wanted to find all the collectibles and just what do they call it? Liberate all the forts, which you can do it any number of ways, and my favorite way is you can draw the blood dragons into the forts, and they'll just start eating all the bad guys.
Okay, so blood dragon is actually an animal in the game.
Yeah, they're like these giant neon lizards that will change color, and it's kind of a neat mechanic where if the blood dragon's lines are on it are like green, that means it doesn't know you're there, and whatever. If they turn yellow, then it's like cautious and it's looking for you, and if it's red, it knows where you are and it's going to eat you.
Cool.
So it's really neat. It's a fun game. There's some interesting mechanics specifically designed for the big dragon monsters.
And of course, you're playing on the PC.
And I'm playing on the PC because I don't want to play shooter on my
You're
console.
a PC elitist.
I'm not a PC elitist. I just see that right now it is the best system to be playing games.
Of course.
Anyway, what have you been up to?
So I've been playing a lot of Yakuza Dead Souls, which is Yakuza with zombies. But I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about the game that if I gave you years, you would never guess what I spent like 12 hours playing on Tuesday.
Modern Warfare.
Nope.
Oh yeah, because that game's not 12 hours long.
Yeah. Oh, burn. Anyway, so you'd never guess. One more guess, but you'd never guess it.
StarCraft?
Nope. Oh. Duke Nukem 3D. Almost. Kind of close. Yeah, so when I got my Sega Saturn, Duke Nukem 3D came with it.
Sega Saturn set up.
And I set it up and had played through a little bit of it before, and kind of realized, like, wow, Duke Nukem 3D is a lot harder than I remember it being.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know what the Saturn version has, but you can never really like look up or down very well. You kind of had to use like page up and page down to do that on the keyboard.
This one you have to hit X, hold X, and then hit up and down.
Oh, okay.
So it's even more
So it's
wonky.
like a free look button.
Yeah, even more wonky.
Okay.
And the shoulder buttons are what the strafe is mapped to.
Oh man.
Yeah, so it's good because you have to strafe right, you hit the right shoulder, left left shoulder.
That makes sense,
but considering like the last,
you're holding the controller like this, and the Saturn controller wasn't particularly comfortable, as I remember.
No, Saturn controller is excellently comfortable.
Okay, well maybe it's
you
just
are a lying sack of S.
I don't remember. I never actually owned a Saturn. I held it like twice.
I'm gonna like bring in the Saturn controller and like we're gonna do a slow motion video of you holding it, some nice bubbly music behind it.
Yeah. Okay.
Star effects. Anyway, yes, the Saturn controller is extremely comfortable.
Okay.
But I'm playing it on the Model 2 controller, which does not have an analog stick.
Oh, so it's all digital movement.
So it's all digital movement, and the digital movement is what's mapped to forward and back, and then the turning.
Yeah. So you can only turn so fast unless you change the sensitivity.
Yeah, which like the last, let's say, 10 years of video game console first-person shooters have gone with that dual analog stick mode, which has taught you not to do that. So it took me a while to get back in the swing of it. But once I got back in the swing of it, I immediately remembered how awesome Duke 3D is.
Well, yeah, Duke 3D was a really good game for its day.
Yeah, the only problem I have with the Saturn version of it is that, one, there's supposedly bonus levels.
Which you've yet to find.
And the problem with that is, it doesn't let you select the episode that you're going into. You have to play through all of episode 1, all of episode 2, all of episode 3, all of episode 4 eventually.
So, but you can't like load up in the middle or anything?
No.
Oh, that's...
I did save my game, but the battery that I use in my Saturn, I stole out of one of my Dreamcast VMUs, and I'm pretty sure it's shot. So
you're going to have to get a new battery.
Yeah, I don't know.
Those are just watch batteries, right?
They're I think it's called C3032s.
Yeah,
or 2032s.
They're not very big, as I remember.
Yeah, I mean they're like the size of a dime.
Yeah.
And the VMU used 2 of them. The Saturn uses 1 of them. And I just need to at some point stop at an Osco because they always seem to be the place where I can find those.
You can find those crazy ass batteries.
For like, I shudder to think of the hearing aid that would be big enough to fit one of these inside of it, but they're hearing aid batteries.
Probably go back behind your ear.
Yeah. But so I don't know that I'll be able to load back up to that spot when I start playing it again.
Well, let's hope you will, because you got to do 3D on your Saturn.
I know it was once again very fun, and the
3D.
Saturn version looks a lot better than I remember my 486 and my Pentium 90 version looking.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's 480i.
Yeah.
What can you say?
And the Saturn's really good at 2D texturing, so.
Yeah, it was.
So the bad guys and the strippers look good.
Of course, because that's the important part of
Shake it, baby. Shake it, baby. Shake it, baby.
Did you sing Born to be Wild while you were there?
No.
Oh, because you can get up on the mic stand and
really?
Yeah. You go up
I
there
never
and
knew
hit
that.
enter, and it'll go Born to be Wild.
It's C in the Saturn version.
E, whatever it was. You hit the interact button and
Born to be Wild.
Yeah, basically.
Speaking of Born to be Wild, so I went out vintage stocking on Monday.
Okay.
And I first got my Saturn. I went to one vintage stock. I went to 1 or 2 vintage stocks. Didn't really find anything for the Saturn.
No, you won't find a lot.
I found the AV cable for the Saturn.
Well, hey, that's
which I was surprised at.
Well, good.
Because the guy that sold me the Saturn didn't have an AV cable.
Oh, that's right. That was why it was so cheap, because you couldn't test it.
So I was like, well, I'll go out again. I'll go vintage stocking again. I went to another vintage stock. The one that you and I normally go to at Shawnee Mission Parkway.
Oh, yeah. The little one?
The little one. Okay. That always has the best stuff.
Well, yeah, because it's the little one.
Yeah, it's the little one. The big one doesn't have... The big one has good toys.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really have good anything else. Like, the little one has awesome stuff.
Has all the games.
Like, I found complete in-box Battletoads at the little one.
Yeah.
So I went to the little one, and there was like a litany of sports games for the Saturn. First off,
course.
The fact that they had any Saturn games at all, I was like, oh, awesome. So I started.
And they're all sports games.
So there were a bunch of sports games. So then there's one, and I'm like, what's this game? And I pull it out, and it's complete in-box. It even has like the original registry card, the warranty card, all this stuff. Revolution X, starring Aerosmith.
Oh yeah. There was a PS1 version of that.
Yeah, it was $4 or $3.
Oh, it's totally worth it for $4.
Yeah, and
so
if you haven't played Revolution X,
it's a
rail shooter.
It was like a light gun shooter.
Yeah, it's a rail shooter
in the arcades, but yeah,
it's still a rail shooter on the Saturn.
Yeah,
and you move your little icon
your
around.
Your little reticle flies around. It's like the Terminator 2 game for the SNES and the Genesis.
Yes, exactly
like that, but with Aerosmith.
Yes. And they appear to be fighting the extras from Janet Jackson's Rhythm Nation video.
Yeah, there's I don't even know what the hell the story is in that game. All I know is that Steven Tyler shows up once and he's like super pixelated and kind of like crap. But
at one point, you go to the Aerosmith show and then they kidnap Aerosmith, but you do nothing to stop them from kidnapping Aerosmith.
Yes.
You just literally sit there and watch it happen. And then you go backstage into the Aerosmith's backstage room. You break the mirror, which then turns into a TV, and Steven Tyler pops up and tells you that you're the only choice, you're the only chance they have.
You are the chosen one to save them.
To fight the, it's called NON, and I think it stands for New Order Nation, maybe. I played like 4 hours of it, and it's pretty incomprehensible.
There's no story to it, right? Like it's just...
No. The story is Aerosmith's been kidnapped by this New Order Nation
guys, and you have to save them.
Who's going to be the new world order, one world government, and Aerosmith, they kidnapped Aerosmith because Aerosmith is the only rock Aerosmith's rock is the only thing that can stand against them. And I just have to say one thing. If we ever get to the spot where Aerosmith's rock is the only thing that stands between us and total domination,
we are so in trouble.
Fuck, we're done. Just give up the ghost. Like, whatever. Throw your hands in the air like you just don't care. So I played it. So I forgot how
the game was really goofy.
Mind-numbingly stupid the game is. Like, not even just the story, but the gameplay itself. Is you have a normal like machine gun shot that doesn't need to be reloaded.
No.
So you literally just end up holding that button down.
Hold the trigger down and then just start spraying.
Ghosting over everyone that needs to die. But then you also, your bonus shot, a lot of these games, you would get like a grenade or a bomb or something. The bonus shot in Revolution X is CDs or laser discs.
Yes.
So the only difference is a CD, if your normal machine gun shot is 1 pixel by 1 pixel attack, the CD is 2 pixel by 1 pixel, and the laser disc is 4 pixels by 1 pixel. So it's just a wider shot. Yeah. And it is just the dumbest thing ever.
It is goofy. It is a really goofy game, and it's a good way to kill like 4 hours. And it doesn't take that long to beat it.
Well, I don't know, because you end up, they really harsh you on the continues.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if you can just solidly with 2 people just go through that game and just beat the crap out of it, it'll take you like 2 or 3 hours.
The cool thing I thought was after you beat the first couple levels, they offer you a branching path.
A little bit, yeah.
With 3 different levels, and I went to the Pacific Rim, which I ended up shooting ninjas. Ninjas that were red and yellow, because that's how ninjas dressed in the 90s.
Well, that way they're easy to spot.
Yeah.
Which is not how ninjas are supposed to be.
Exactly. Clearly, this new order nation
does not know the rules of how to be a ninja.
Yeah.
They did not read that.
Oh, and the other thing is, so in Virtual Cop and House of the Dead and pretty much any other game in which you're a light gun shooter and people take hostages, what are you not supposed to do?
Shoot the hostage.
Yes. So in Revolution X, the only way to free the hostages is to shoot them, and they are all the same blonde girl with a halter top and Daisy Dukes.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, like
it might even be Alicia Silverstone.
Yeah. No, you don't think so? No, now I think about it. The graphics are good enough in the Saturn that you can actually tell who these people are supposed to be.
And it's not her? Okay.
Yeah, it's not her. Okay. But there's nothing more 90s. So at one point, I had the radio on, because normally when I play old video games in my office, I usually just
have the radio on.
Stick the radio on. Just
turn the music down a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Because most old games have very grating music.
Yeah. Well, I mean, especially if you're going to play it for 3 or 4 hours, you're going to hear the same tune at least.
I mean, even the Duke theme.
Yeah, you don't want to listen to that for hours on end.
But the funny thing is that sporadically in this game, since it's on the packaging, it even said CD quality Aerosmith songs.
Which it's not quite.
I mean, it's on a CD.
Yeah,
it's a Sega Saturn.
Yeah.
So. And there's actually a pause where you can tell and you can listen to the Saturn, and it goes to the track when Aerosmith comes on stage and starts playing an Aerosmith song that it's all from that late 80s, early 90s Aerosmith era with like Dream On.
Yeah, it's the good Aerosmith, as we remember.
like not the 70s psychedelic Aerosmith and not the late 90s into now where like, I can't believe Steven Tyler's still alive. But so that's pleasurable.
Yeah.
But the funny part about it is, so I'm playing it, and on the radio they started playing like old 90s alternative hits, and I was like, I almost had to look to make sure I wasn't wearing flannel and torn up jeans. Like, I'm trapped back in the 90s.
I still do that every now and then.
John, it's the 90s. Faxes. Die Hard 2 quote. Anyway, so we don't really have a lot to talk about. I mean, outside of just like BSing about games. So the other game I guess I played this week a lot of was, as I said, Yakuza Dead Souls.
Yes.
Which
open world zombie game.
Oh my god! Like if you've never played a Yakuza game or you've never played Shenmue, they're both of a pair, and these are like the Grand Theft Auto guys. Rockstar always talk about making the biggest world and wanting that world.
They do make a huge world.
Wanting the world to be big and deep, and I think there is no open world game as deep as the Yakuza series.
Yeah, I can see that, because I mean like with Grand Theft Auto, they have a lot of buildings and stuff, but you can't really interact with a lot of them.
Yeah.
Like you just drive by, and every now and then you'll see, oh, here's a gun shop, here's a spray.
I mean, like Kamurocho, which is the
area
the most often Yakuza area. There's also Yakuza games.
Is that a verb now?
Yeah, there's also Yakuza games. Yakuza 2 takes place in Okinawa, but most of the time you're in Kamurocho, which is the fictional red light district in Tokyo. The actual red light district in Tokyo is not called Kamurocho, is my understanding.
It's called something else. But.
Anyway, so Kamurocho could fit in like Grand Theft Auto 3's Chinatown.
Probably, yeah.
Like the square footage of it, but it is so deep and dense with just
you don't
crap.
really need to go very far.
Yeah.
But
there are batting
more like
cages.
A living town, right?
Yeah,
like and
that's the one thing that like Grand Theft Auto has never done. Grand Theft Auto 4 kind of did it,
but they didn't do it as well.
Still didn't feel like oh my god, like the real town. Like in Kamurocho, you can just walk down the street, and since it's all in Japanese, little text bubbles will pop up of people's conversations around you.
Because you can hear what they're saying, and you're eavesdropping essentially.
Basically. So there's like batting cages, there's karaoke bars, there's table tennis. There's bathhouses, both of the normal upstanding variety and the not upstanding variety.
Bathhouse.
There are like mahjong parlors. There are pachinko parlors. There are arcades that you can actually go in and just play arcade games at.
Like real ones or fake ones they made up?
Well, it's called Boxelos, but it's basically it's set up the same as like HD Zaxxon.
Okay. So things like you would have played in the mid to late 90s.
Yes.
Early 80s. Zaxxon's a pretty old game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's set in now.
Yeah.
It's set in 2011, I think.
Ish.
Well, I think Yakuza Dead Souls is 2011. It's weird. If you've never played a Yakuza game before, I don't recommend starting with Yakuza Dead Souls because it is a shooter, third-person shooter, and the Yakuza games are not that normally. Yakuza is normally brawling. It's kind of like River City Ransom, but 3D HD. Anyway, so Yakuza Dead Souls, they took a shooting mechanic and bolted it onto the game, and the camera doesn't really play nice all the time. There's a lot of times I found myself like getting backed into a corner and not really knowing what to do, and having to just like spam the dodge button until I could get the camera set up correctly.
Get to the camera where you could actually start capping zombies and run away.
So I don't recommend starting with Dead Souls unless like you just want something crazy. Because like the other Yakuza games, Yakuza 1, I played Yakuza 1, I missed 2, I missed 3, and then got back in on 4.
Yeah.
And there's a story that goes through all of them.
And
that's
it's
actually
all the same
relatively
family, right?
deep. Well, yeah, the same. It all has to do with the Toho clan.
Okay.
Or the Tojo clan. They kind of fudge the translation sometimes. In the original Yakuza, when it was translated in English, it was the Toho clan. And now when I'm listening to it in the Japanese, I'm pretty sure they're saying Tojo. So.
Don't know.
I know.
Not played a Yakuza game ever.
Super minute detail. Yeah. Anyway. So and it kind of has to do with this one character, which he's a cool guy.
Yeah.
But in Yakuza 4, they split it up. They split it up to 4 main characters, and I like one of the main characters a lot more than I like
the main guy.
Yeah, Kiryu, the main dude. So the good news is the guy I liked, the loan shark in Yakuza 4, is one of the main characters in Yakuza Dead Souls.
Okay. Yeah,
which also has it split up once again 4 main characters. Okay. And the cool thing about Yakuza Dead Souls is one of the main characters is the bad guy from the first Yakuza, which I totally thought was dead.
Well, it's a Yakuza game, and when a game involves zombies, they can basically bring anybody they want back to life. So you know.
Yeah, this is basically, and the whole game, you can tell they weren't taking themselves
super serious.
Super seriously, like the Yakuza storyline that has to do with the Yakuza families and like what Yakuza family unleashed the zombie plague and all this stuff. That is dealt super seriously, but at the same time, one of your main characters is just like nuts. Thinks he's introduced watching zombie movies, and he sees the zombies, and he's like, "Wait, what? Huh? I guess you can't beat the real thing." And he grabs a shotgun and starts blowing people away.
Okay.
He's awesome. I love his character. I just got out of his chapter, and I did all of his sub stories, his sub quests, because I was like, I want to see more of this dialogue.
You want to see this guy and how his dialogue works out. And things like that. His dialogue is written so well and is performed so well. You just want to keep watching.
Yes. Well, that's the other thing is that the Yakuza games once again are in Japanese.
So you're going
to be reading.
Yeah.
Unless you speak Japanese.
No.
Which is nice because like people are talking, I can like catch different phrases.
Little bits because you've been to Japan.
Yeah.
You have to learn very rudimentary Japanese.
Yeah, so it's like, oh yeah, I know that.
I kind of know what's going on.
But then I'm just like, I'm just going to go hang out in the bath.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is, once again, There's tons of subquests, tons of stuff to do.
Very, very large game, but not a very large area.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
lots to do, just not lots to explore.
And people have complained that the one thing you can't do in Yakuza games that I feel like you kind of should at this point is you can't set waypoints.
Oh, like on the map to say, okay, I need to go to this specific spot, but it's not like a quest point, so you're not going to be able to set it. Yeah, that seems like that would be a shortfall of those games.
Well, but here's the thing, like, the minute they let me walk around by myself in Kamurocho, since I had played so many of these games, I immediately knew where I was supposed to go.
Well, yeah.
And it was in the exact same spot.
More
like,
or less, yeah.
No, in the exact same spot. They were like, go to Club Sega in Theater Square. And I was like, oh, I know where Theater Square is. I know what the Club Sega looks like.
And you go there.
Boom.
I mean, it's just like walking around in town. It's like you don't have waypoints for out here.
And that's one of the things I like about Yakuza
cool.
is that you really get to know Kamurocho.
You know that area really well, like you.
Which is another reason I don't recommend Dead Souls, because in a large part of Dead Souls,
those areas
are quarantined off.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the funny thing is, like, okay, so the zombie outbreak will happen and they'll quarantine off an area. And then you have to go back, one of the subplot things is you have to go back into that area and liberate different businesses. Where people have basically
to rebuild them and things like that.
People have basically shut themselves inside these stores, and you have to like go knock on the steel shutter, and they're like, "Hey, can you clear out the zombies outside, and we'll open back up." So I'll constantly like be running around the quarantine zone, like running away from zombies. Like, oh, my health's almost dead. Well, I'm right next to the gelato shop. I'm just gonna like swing into the gelato shop, eat a bunch of gelato, and then pop back out and shoot some more zombies.
Well. That works though. I mean,
and then that's the weirdness that is Yakuza.
It's a weird mechanic, but yeah.
Well, I mean, and that oddness and that very Japaneseness pervades all of the series.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend, if you're a fan of Japan, if you're a fan of open world games, if you're a fan of really deep stories, if you're a fan of even like Yakuza movies, like they do a really great job of like
kind of
presenting that meat, that very like
cool.
honor driven, you know. I've seen people commit seppuku in the Yakuza games because they're like, I have disgraced the family.
Fall on their sword and all that.
So the cool thing I kind of like is that Yakuza Dead Souls takes place after Yakuza 4, which I played off and on but never really got to finish. I'm probably going to go back to it after I'm done with Dead Souls.
Does it like spoil main story plots?
No, they don't actually. They kind of spoil like what kind of happened. Like I've played through, I would say, 3/4 of the story of Yakuza 4. And they spoke a couple of stuff that I can kind of guess what happened at the end of it, but they're very respectful that this is a side story.
So, and this is a standalone thing also.
Yeah, you don't really have to know much. Like,
well, no, I'm saying like you don't have. It's not like a bolt-on to Yakuza 4. It's
basically Yakuza 4's. It's basically Yakuza 4's engine and world, because Yakuza 4 was a little bit upgraded from 3, but not much.
Much like Blood Dragon, it's a standalone game. You don't have to have.
You don't have to know that. It's the world of Yakuza 4, but they made it its own game. So. Okay. And it's super fun. I highly recommend you, if you like Yakuza and you want something fun to play, Yakuza Dead Souls is an awesome purchase.
Japanese open world games.
Yeah, if you like Japanese open world games, you can probably get Yakuza. Well, actually, I got Yakuza Dead Souls in a very good deal at Target. It was packed in with another game.
Yeah.
Yakuza 4 I've seen going for kind of moderately high prices on eBay.
For a game that's been out for almost a year now?
2 years.
2 years?
Yeah.
4's been out for 2 years? I thought it came out last year.
No.
Oh, okay. Whatever.
They kind of come out in the spring here.
Yeah.
But it was weird because we didn't think we were going to get Yakuza 3. And then we got Yakuza 3.
And it's like, hey, okay.
The one thing I don't like about Yakuza 3 is that a lot of the stuff they cut out, you would get experience points and money from. And it made the core game harder without actually making the core game harder. You just couldn't go get stuff as much.
Because you couldn't.
The fact that Yakuza 4, they just let everything stay in, I was like, hostess minigame, which led to a very odd scene when my wife walked in on me, like asking her questions about like, okay, so what's the difference between like acrylic nails and these other type of nails? Because I need to know
which one of these outfits is cuter on this girl.
Well, I need to know like what I need to dress the girls right because I need to make money because I need money because I need to go pay off this debt I owe.
That's like the weirdest thing about this game, right?
It is very odd, but I once again highly recommend the Yakuza series. Is a hidden gem, I would say, of current consoles.
Yeah. Okay. I've also been playing. What is this? What's that? Zombie Tycoon 2, Brainhelm's Revenge, or something like that. It's basically I want to say it's almost like a top-down RTS on your Vita.
It's also for the PS3.
Is it?
Free this month on Plus.
Yeah, it is free this month on Plus. Okay. Well, that makes a little bit more sense as to why the touch doesn't work then. I thought it was a PS Vita only game.
Well, and originally Zombie Tycoon 1 was a PlayStation Mini.
So. Okay, so then they made a sequel of it, made it better. Okay.
Yeah.
It runs on the Unreal Engine, so it's kind of got those weird Unreal
Texture
PS3 problems. But it's pretty interesting so far. I'm only like 3 or 4 missions in. But yeah, it's like an RTS on your Vita. And the multiplayer pits you against the blue zombie guys. I don't know. Have you played the multiplayer at all? No. It's a pretty interesting...
I played it for like the tutorial and was like, yeah, I don't really want an RTS.
I don't need an RTS on my Vita.
I'm going to go back to Grandia.
Yeah. It's a pretty neat game. I've enjoyed the hour or so I've put into it. It is kind of difficult because if you're not used to playing RTSs. And the way the squad-based mechanics work is, you've got your 4 or 5 zombies on triangle button and 4 or 5 zombies on circle button and whatever. You basically scroll around the map and do it. And now that I know that it's on the PS3 as well, it makes sense that you can't use the touchscreen to do some of the things that you would do. But
I mean, if they make a Vita game, like you can use the touchscreen in Battle Royale for the Vita.
Yeah.
So,
but it just wasn't set up.
But
they didn't do it. But it would have been nice for them to go, okay, you touch this. This is where you want your guys to go, things like that. But, it's a goofy little zombie strategy game. And I would recommend, if you have PlayStation Plus and you have a Vita or you have a obviously you have a PS3 or a Vita if you have PlayStation Plus, to download it and check it out. It's worth it for free. It's probably worth the $5 or $10 that they charge for it on the store. I don't know what the normal price is.
Well, speaking of PlayStation Plus right now is doing a huge sale until Tuesday that is modeled after PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale.
So everybody who's in that game, their game's on sale?
Yeah, some of the stuff is on sale. So I purchased the Ratchet & Clank HD collection because 1, I love Ratchet & Clank. 2, I never got to play Ratchet & Clank 3 Up Your Arsenal.
Well, now you have. You have the ability.
Now I have it. It's hanging out on my hard drive. But it came down to only $15. So you're getting 3 games for $15.
So $5 a head, that's not bad.
Yeah, also the Sly Cooper collection is also part of the deal. Yeah. And I think the Jak and Daxter collection too.
Okay.
But things like, I saw that Metal Gear Solid, the HD collection
it's
for...
like $15 on the Vita.
Yeah, for the Vita. I think it's $20 on the Vita.
I don't know. It's something. It's
way less than what it should be. Yeah, you should definitely pick it up.
I've been thinking about picking it up because it's like, oh man, I really kind of want to play Metal Gear Solid 2 again.
And you've never played Metal Gear Solid 3?
No, never played Snake Eater. Was that 3? That was 3.
Flame him, internet. Yes, you should play 3. In fact, I would say I would highly recommend you go pick that up. And if you pick up both the version for home, it's not cross-buy enabled. But if you pick up the version for Vita and the version for home, it is cross-save enabled.
So you can play it on the go and then play it at home. Maybe, possibly.
Which normally, I think the console version is $5 cheaper than the Vita version.
Probably.
Yeah, it's been out longer.
But I mean, whatever. I may pick it up just to check it out.
You still should, but definitely check out the PlayStation Store this week
and then
before Tuesday, because there's just a buttload of sales. Like I think Devil May Cry is on sale.
Yeah.
I know the Devil May Cry collection's on sale.
Yeah. I mean, there's a ton of stuff coming. And isn't Sleeping Dogs coming to PS Plus sometime this week?
That is the rumor. They haven't announced it yet, but they did say on the PlayStation podcast that it was happening.
So
we don't know for sure yet.
If you really want, potentially you could get an open world game where you could run around.
Well, but
it's not Yakuza and it's not Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, Sleeping Dogs is more Grand Theft Auto than it is Yakuza.
But it is kind of cool.
Yeah, it is really cool. And you should play it. It's one of the hidden gems of last year.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. Tons of stuff. Man.
There's all kinds of stuff on the store that's on sale. I mean, it's almost like they learned from Steam and they're trying to have more sales more frequently.
Yeah, well, they are. I mean, literally, they learned from Steam and they're like...
Hey, sales push numbers up. Let's do this.
Yeah. So they were like, let's find excuses. And the Spring Fever sale, which normally happens this time of year, I thought the first 3 weeks of it were kind of...
Pretty meh. Didn't have a lot.
And then now that the last week is this huge PlayStation All-Star sale, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Because it's basically, every single character that's in All-Stars has something on sale, which is awesome.
Yeah, because there's a lot of characters in All-Stars.
Yeah.
There has to be.
And so you can go find something you want out there. And All-Stars itself is on sale. I think the Vita version is half off.
So it's 15?
Yeah.
20? Something like that?
I think the PS3 version is 20. I think the Vita version is 15.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, that makes sense.
So I mean, I bought the Ratchet & Clank collection because I really want to play those games. I imagine 20 years down the line when I'm in a vintage video game store and I see that collection on disc, I'll probably buy it again. But it's good to have it now.
Yeah, it is. Well, and you can have it now, and then as long as you keep your PS3, which you're going to keep your PS3 forever, you can play it.
So don't forget to spay and neuter Pokemon, and we'll see you next week.